Matthew Stafford leading the league in touchdowns and completion percentage, and in the MVP conversation, possibly winning the MVP next year under the Sean McVay offense, man. It doesn't get any bolder than that, is all I'm saying.
It is our final show of the first season of Big Man Bets. Congratulations to Orlando Pace and the LA Rams for winning the Super Bowl. But congratulations to Nick Mangold, our winner, our champion in the first season of Big Man Bets. 38, 25, and 1 making his bets. I mean, 38, 25, and 1, right? Orlando, you finished a mostly respectable 31 and 34. Tough last couple of weeks. You had that thing over 500, but a tumultuous ending. Nick, you take the crown. I don't have anything for you, but something's in the mail. How's that? Just our admiration just being flowing right at you. How do you feel?
Admiration's enough for it. I was not expecting to do well at all if my gambling record has any indication, but this season it was good, and I'm happy about it, and hopefully some people paid attention and won a little bit of money.
Yeah, exactly right. And I mean, your focus was strong week to week. You hated the over-unders. You didn't, but you didn't let that get in front of you. I mean, Orlando, I know you were impressed, right?
Yeah, obviously, Nick was just making people money out here, man. So if you follow Nick, man, you probably made some money this season. So it was a fun year. Obviously, I didn't fare so well, but had fun making the picks, and
Yeah, but
we'll see next year.
No, nobody went broke betting with you. They just lost a little bit of dough. That's fine. Let's talk about the Super Bowl team. The Rams get it done. The Bengals covered. I think everybody was entertained. The halftime show was universally, I guess, beloved. I thought the whole thing was just, I mean, the NFL's production is just unbelievable these days. You were there, right, Orlando, or am I right about that?
Yes, I was there in attendance. Really, really fun game to be a part, to be there in person to see. I'm sure it was the same on television as well. I thought it was a good game. I thought the Rams came out, had a really good chance of blowing this thing wide open. But Cincinnati stayed in there like they've been doing throughout the postseason, and made it a game down the stretch. Obviously they had to fight back a little bit, and obviously the big guys, the big players on the Rams ultimately came up and made plays, being Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald on the other side of the ball. So a really fun game to watch. Glad the Los Angeles Rams came out on top.
Yeah, so Kupp gets the MVP, Nick. Was that right? If you were voting, would you have gone with the wide receiver who was carrying the mail for the Rams, or perhaps that Aaron Donald character?
I was pulling for Aaron Donald because I took the advice of my host mate here, Orlando, said it was good value. I liked it. So I took it, and so I had a little bit of a wager on that. I thought it was difficult, and I think if Odell stays healthy, the ball would have been split a little bit more between Cooper Kupp and Odell. And I don't think Stafford did enough to get the MVP either way. I think throwing the interception really hurt him in voting. So if Odell stays healthy, I think there's a better chance that Donald gets it. If he played the same performance. But at the same time, if Odell stays healthy, I think this game is won by a bigger margin than it was. So I don't know. I don't know what the process is for voting for MVP. You hear all the rumblings after the game. The Monday morning armchair quarterbacks are sitting there and was like, well, Donald should have won it. And we should have voting later after everything settles instead of doing it right then. But that's how the system is. So I think Cooper Kupp did a fantastic job for his team. And he made the plays when he needed to make the plays. So I don't fault him giving it to him. But I think there really is no justification. It's all just opinion of who's ever voting. I don't even know who votes on. Is it the Hall of Fame? You know who's voting on that. You know who's voting for like the NFL for the year-long MVP. Like who's voting for the MVP for the Super Bowl? No idea.
It's a select group of 16 writers, and
Okay.
they and who those 16 are and how they get picked, I have no idea. The most interesting thing about it to me is that you have to put in your picks before the 2-minute warning. So they didn't see Aaron Donald make an incredible play, on both third and fourth down that in essence won the football game. Who would you have voted for, Orlando?
I was talking to Aaron Donald all week last week. Obviously I didn't realize that until you mentioned that, Mark, that they don't at the 2-minute mark, you don't see guys make an impact play, which is probably the biggest play of the game in terms of impact, getting, Burrow down, sacking, making plays. So, yeah, Cooper Kupp had a great game. Obviously, what Nick said was just if Odell Beckham's in the game, maybe they spread it out a little more. And he was really trending towards being the MVP. He was making some big catches himself going down the stretch. But I think it would have gave, I probably would have went Aaron Donald watching the entirety of the game and gave him the MVP.
Odell, that was just too bad, bottom line. I mean, he's obviously gotten a lot of attention, but in locker rooms, the guy seems to be very well liked. And in LA, the minute he got there, basically, he was just performing. So I don't know what he's going to decide to do. He's got an ACL tear to deal with, but it seems like hopefully he comes back. The big discussion now is whether or not Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer. And Nick, I want to start with you on this. You made the Pro Bowl 7 times. 7 times. Matthew Stafford made it once. You're on the ballot, whether you get in or not. Obviously, you have no control over that. And there's a lot of guys, by the way, who've made multiple Pro Bowls who haven't gotten in. And Stafford's playing in the friendliest era for quarterbacks. That's not his fault, but that's just the reality. I mean, are you voting for Matthew Stafford as a Hall of Famer right now? If you had a ballot?
I don't know. And I think this is where we get kind of caught up in talking about guys' future. He's not done yet. So, he could still have another 4 years, still put up numbers. And I think that's the thing where you look at quarterbacks, you have so many stats you can pull from that, I think cases can be made easily because of the stats. You compare him to other guys and you're like, oh, well, here he was top 5 in pass yards, top 5 in completions, top 5 in touchdowns. And hey, yes, he also won a Super Bowl. Like, I feel like that pretty much gives it the guarantee. It's also not his fault that he played on a bad Detroit team, like that he was, stuck in Detroit. That's just, that is what it is. But I don't know. And it's the question, like Phillip Rivers, like he's got yards, he's got stats left and right, but he never won the big game. Is that a knock on him? Does he not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame because he didn't? Eli Manning wins 2 Super Bowls, but would you take Eli over Phillip Rivers? 2-minute situation. I don't know. Like it's those things. Like, and even Peyton, we always talk about, like, he's got the 2 Super Bowls. But we talked about the stats. Like, he was probably the worst quarterback to win a Super Bowl. So at that time, but he can say, like, I've got two Super Bowls. So I think it depends on what the voters really emphasize. Is it the Super Bowl wins? Is it the stats? Or is it the overall just feelings of a quarterback? I don't know. It's tough. And so, like, that Matthew Stafford put all that time into Detroit. And yes, he did have a Hall of Fame wide receiver in Calvin Johnson. So shouldn't that be enough to propel that offense to be able to win games? Why didn't they win more games if you have a potential Hall of Fame quarterback and a Hall of Fame wide receiver? I feel like you'd win a lot more games. Why didn't they? And so you got to look at that. So there's so many factors into it, but it's all kind of a moot point because he's not done playing. Like, he still has time. He can still rack up more stats. And so I think the jury's out.
Yeah, I agree. For me, it's if he retired today, is he a Hall of Famer? I don't think so personally. I think he still needs to do more work. But to Nick's point, obviously the story still needs to be written. If he plays another 3 or 4 years, gets in the playoffs, they win another championship, definitely. But for now, I would say no. But being a quarterback is the one in terms of Hall of Fame criteria. It's all about stats because what they do is compare touchdown passes, their yards, completion percentages. They compare that with the guys that's already in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if they look at Pro Bowls as much in terms of whether he gets in or gets out, but I think his stats will be pretty high up there with a lot of Hall of Famers that's already in. So I think 2 or 3 years from now, he keeps winning. I think he does ultimately get into the Hall of Fame, and he'll have that big market out there in LA to help push and drive him into the Hall of Fame. So I think he will be a Hall of Famer ultimately.
So, yeah, I get it on the prediction side, but let me just throw this in there. Really good player, Pro Bowler, Hall of freaking Fame. Like, you have to be elite at your position. Really good quarterback, but you're not top 3, top 5 right now, or really at any point in your career. So, you play a very competitive position where guys are really, really, really good at football and they get all the spotlight on them. And he's been a really good player, and I think got knocked unfairly because he played in Detroit, and his competitiveness and his not complaining about it and just doing everything he can to lift that franchise should be applauded. But I don't know if that makes, at least in my mind, it puts him in the Hall of Fame. And I've always defended the guy. Like, hey man, if he got on a better team, the dude would win more, better organization, and it happened. But it's also like the only category this dude has led the NFL in his interceptions.
Hey, Mark. Do you think Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer?
See, that's another stat compiler. Like, if he played in the 70s or the 80s, I don't think so. Like, I don't look at him as elite. Like, to me, the bar to get in the Hall of Fame would be really, really high. You're in the Hall of Fame. The greatest players who have ever played the game. To me, it's that would be a very, 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 very elite group. And I wouldn't, how did he compare against the players in his era? Was he in the top 5%? Okay, those are the guys that would get in him. If in an utopian ideal world for me, I don't know. What are you hearing, Nick? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree in the same way, and I think that's where stats will skew it. But I don't think Matthew Stafford has ever been considered the third best quarterback in the NFL in any season that he's played it. And, if you can't even crack the top 3 of your position, you probably don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, you might have the stats, and definitely you could look at it and say, he had the Hall of Fame wide receiver of Calvin Johnson, and that's why his stats are so high, because you could throw it anywhere within like a 5-yard radius and Megatron's going to go up and catch it. And so like that could be used against him. It could be used for him and it could be used against him. So, I think that's where it comes in, but it's more, I believe it's more the perception. Like, I've never thought of Matthew Stafford as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL in his 12 seasons. And if you're not considered the top, 1 or 2 in your position while you were playing, I don't see where you can say, yes, he's definitely a Hall of Famer. I think it would have to go down the line multiple times where it's like, all right, fine, we can let him in.
Let me say this too. I think what people, obviously, the further you get away from the game, the greater the legend grows, right? So people they'll remember he won the Super Bowl. The voters won't remember what type of year he had, right? They'll just look at Super Bowl and look at stats. 10 years from now, guys will be like, oh yeah, he won the Super Bowl in 2022, and nobody, they'll forget about, the interceptions he threw this season or what type of season he had. They'll just solely look at those stats. So it's a little, to play devil advocate a little bit there. So
yeah, be better. I think that was the message right there.
No, so I hate to put Orlando in the spot, but you're in the club. You're in the Hall of Fame, and you have the gold jacket. Does it are you welcoming him in? I know you don't get a vote.
Yeah.
But if he comes in, we're like, yes, he belongs here with the rest, the pantheon of NFL players.
You know what? I think we all welcome him in just because that's tradition and what it means. Because really we put that onus on the voters. They voted him in. Hey, he's in. Let's go. I do think there's some guys that get in that Hall of Famers give a little side eye to, like, should he really be in there?
Name names, Orlando. Let's go. Name names.
Like, how did he get in? So it's just one of those things that the guys probably do, but I think ultimately you welcome those guys in.
I'm with Nick. Names, please. Who's got the most sideways glances? We won't put you in that position, Orlando.
No.
You're a class man. We get it. All right, here let's move on. Burrow and the Bengals. Do you think they make another Super Bowl in the next 5 years, Nick? Are you guys going to get back there?
So, I mean, I don't know. I have such a distrust with the Bengals organization that they've been dysfunctional for so long, and now they've gotten there. Can they get continued success? And this is coming from a fan, growing up with the Bengals. But they do have the groundwork. And what I love of where they are, which seems different than most years, is that they seem to have built their team from the inside out. They've built through the draft. They're getting guys together. The glaring hole right now for them is their offensive line. And so are they going to be able to fix that offensive line, which could be done in an offseason? And I believe the right tackle and right guard were the backups starting in the Super Bowl, so they also need to get healthy. So that's their big thing. So they've been on the right path. Can they stick to that right path? And if they do, I think easily. I think they have. They now have the belief that they belong in the upper echelon of the AFC and the NFL as a whole. Taking the Rams to a 3-point game in the Super Bowl, I think has to give them the confidence. I hope that, I hope that Joe Burrow, who has won at every level, it doesn't take this as the ultimate defeat, and sees it as like a building opportunity, because they have the pieces. And if they fix up that offensive line, that defense, was not talked about, very underrated, and did a fantastic job. I think they're in a very good spot to be back in the Super Bowl within 5 years.
You know what? I think it's tough. And I grew up in Ohio too. And I know the Bengals, traditionally have been very cheap, right? So they're going to have to surround Joe Burrow with some talent. They already have talent at receiver, offensive line. They need to improve those positions up front. And then, quarterbacks in the AFC is just so tough. You got Lamar Jackson, you got Patrick Mahomes, you got Josh Allen, you got so many great quarterbacks, and they're going to develop their team too to go out and beat Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. So, 5 years is tough with the young Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen in that division. So I'm going to say no, they don't get back. Just everything we know about that. I hope they do, because I think Joe Burrow is a phenomenal quarterback at a young age. So, but I'd love to see all 3 or 4 of those quarterbacks battle in the next 3 to 5 years. Obviously. So.
Yeah, well, Justin Herbert will give you some.
We'll
throw you in there too. Bengals. I think it's official. The show is sold. The Bengals. We are not buyers on the immediate future of Cincinnati. What about the immediate future of the Rams, Orlando? Who's willing to say yes back to back, or at least one more in this particular Rams Matthew Stafford era?
You know what? I just hope Sean McVay comes back. I know there was some noise, some rumblings about he may retire. So I think, obviously he's a great, which I think is ridiculous. I'm not sure where those rumors came from, or, maybe he even said it. He said it. So, you know what? And I think he's a smart guy. So I think he could do anything if the coaching is probably too heavy on him. A lot of guys retire early, especially, I think of John Madden that comes to mind, was a young coach, won early and retired. But, obviously I think that's the key piece. They got a left tackle, Andrew Whitworth. Does he come back? Von Miller obviously was on a 1-year deal. I don't think they're going to have that running back mentality. I just think they're going to try to add some pieces and go out and play, solid football next year. So.
Yeah, the Rams is tough. I mean, I think Sean's smart, kind of dangling retirement there because he wants another contract and probably wants to get paid a ton. And that's the quickest way to get it done. I don't know. I mean, like Andrew Whitworth, I don't know how much longer he's got. We were drafted together, and the fact that he's still playing is impressive. So I feel like this would be a great opportunity for him to walk off to the sunset, get the walk-off Super Bowl. And so they're going to have some stuff on the offensive line they got to deal with. Odell is free agent and injured. Is he coming back? It'll be interesting. I think with the coaching that Sean McVay does, the coaching job that he does, I think they have the potential. It's just I think if they do make it back, it's going to look like a very different team because they got a lot of people that they're probably going to have to start paying money to, and you can only pay so many guys. You can't pay everybody. So I think I don't know the situation of the contracts that are coming down the pike for them, but it's definitely they're going to have some decisions to make coming up, and they're also, I mean, they don't have their next 3 first-round picks are in Detroit, so the drafting is going to hurt as well.
Yeah, you know what? That was a great point, Nick. I think because they don't have a lot of draft capital. I mean, they don't have any picks, so it's going to make it difficult. And I think Aaron Donald, I'm not sure his contract situation, but I know he's coming up, and I know he got a large deal a few years ago. So, do you pay this guy Patrick Mahomes money at this point? He already has a pretty big deal. So they have a lot of tough decisions in terms of their salary cap and how they manage that part of it.
We're moving into bold predictions here, and we're starting with division winners. So your division winners from last year: Buffalo, Cincinnati, Tennessee, Kansas City. That's your AFC. NFC, the Cowboys, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and the Rams. Question on the table, gentlemen. Which division winner from this past season is going to miss the playoffs next year? Feel free to raise your hand, and because we all know that the NFL is incredibly unpredictable and having consistency is incredibly challenging. So, who wants to handle this one first?
I'll take this one. This one's an easy one. Tampa Bay. Tom Brady has already said that he's retired, and then a week later, it kind of floats that he, isn't quite sure. And I don't think he's floating that he's not quite sure that he's retired to come back to Tampa Bay. I think if he wanted to come back to Tampa Bay, it would have been a pretty easy decision. And so to put out the retirement, that quickly, says that he's done with Tampa Bay, and if he does play, he'll be playing somewhere else. So Tampa Bay, without Tom Brady as quarterback, I don't see getting a run at it.
Right. Nick gobbled up the easy one. Orlando, go big. Who else?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to say Green Bay. And it is a caveat to if Aaron Rodgers decides to go somewhere else, which I think he will ultimately. I think that division is wide open for the taking. I think anybody could come up and win that division at that point. But I think he moves on, and I think they are the team that won't win the division.
Bear down, Chicago Bears. Let's go, Justin Fields. We'll get to the sophomore to be quarterbacks in a second here. But all right, so which playoff team from this year, and you could even go slightly off the board, a team that just missed the playoffs, who do you think is primed to make a deeper playoff run next season? Steelers, Patriots, Raiders, Eagles, Niners, Arizona, and off the board could be, I don't know, the Colts, the Dolphins are I suppose potentials there. You could also look at maybe Minnesota in your wide open NFC North there if you want to somehow, some way enjoy what they've done in the offseason. I guess, Nick, you went first in the other one. So Orlando, jump in here. Deep playoff run potential.
Way too early. And I don't know if this is probably like my 1 point, underdog pick here. 49ers. I just like their style of football, the way they play, their physical approach. Their defense plays really hard. So I think they make a deep run into the playoffs next year. Depending on what they do at quarterback, I don't know if they're going to go with Trey Lance or stick with Jimmy G. I think Jimmy G's gone, but if they get Aaron Rodgers, it could be over. Is all I'm gonna say. And I know big on this following Aaron Rodgers around where he's going to go, but if they get that type of quarterback, it's going to be trouble for everybody in NFC.
1 point spread would have been saying that you think the Chiefs are going to go to the Super Bowl, so you get a little credit for the Niners.
So the one I'm going with, and I'm going for the long shot here, unlike my friend Orlando, who's trying to keep it safe. I like the Chargers. Ooh. I think the Steelers sneaking in deprived us of seeing what the Chargers could do. I think Justin Herbert in year 3 is going to have an explosion. And I think the way we look at the AFC, it's going to be just a cutthroat division for the next 5 years. I mean, when you got the Chargers, you got the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, Baltimore, all young quarterback, the Patriots. I mean, you still have the jury still out, Tua and the Dolphins, Zach Wilson now in his second year with the Jets. You're looking at, Baker, does he come back strong? And even I think Derek Carr might have a resurgence at the Raiders, with Josh McDaniels coming in, getting a second attempt at the head job, learning from his past mistakes and everything. I mean, AFC is going to be so crowded. I think it's going to be – NFC is going to be kind of put to the back burner with how good the AFC is going to be.
All right, we're putting our chips in here too. By the way, WynnBET, WYNNBET.com for all your gambling needs in your offseason. But let's look at sophomore breakout versus sophomore bust. And we're looking at the quarterbacks because it was a huge quarterback class. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, all very much expected to be on the field in year 2 here. So, Fields injured and started on the bench. Trey's going to play. Zach, of course, was in and out. Who are you betting on the most for a sophomore breakout year, Orlando?
It's easy for me. I'm going with my fellow Buckeye, Justin Fields. I think he'll, if he can stay healthy and they put the right system in place for him to be successful, kind of that Russell Wilson, offense where you run when you have to and, whenever you need and make some good passes and really play to his strengths. I think he has an opportunity to have a huge breakout year for his skill set and his talent. I know he's a very motivated kid, so I know he's going to work hard this offseason. You put the right pieces around him, offensively, bolster up that offensive line a little bit. I think he's primed to have a breakout sophomore year.
Yeah, so I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence. The dysfunction of the Urban Meyer extravaganza is over. We all saw that he was a great quarterback in college. As long as he isn't permanently scarred from this past year, I think, you let his natural ability come out and shine. He could definitely have a breakout sophomore year.
Who's your bust, Nick?
I mean, they all weren't great, other than you could probably say Mac Jones had the best year. So I think I had to take him just because I think he was the only one that actually did well. But also without, playing that easy card, Josh McDaniels is now in Oakland. And I think he had a big part in that offense and how they ran things and how they got him going. So I think losing your offensive coordinator who really brought you into the league and got you going, I think is going to be a big adjustment going into year 2. And I know it's Bill Belichick and next man up and coaching and everything. So you take it with a grain of salt. But I think that's a big blow to a young quarterback who was just starting to get his rhythm with this offensive coordinator and now has to switch to a new coordinator going into year 2.
Yeah, Zach Wilson, man. Not a lot of people we aren't talking about him, but a lot of people aren't talking about him. How many years does the Jets give him to develop at this point? Obviously the pressure from the media. They don't have a ton of pieces around him, so they're not really helping him out in terms of talent. Can he have an upside breakout year? It'll be tough in New York. So I think he may be the bust of the group. I know, Nick. I know, Nick. I know.
I mean, your Rams won the Super Bowl, but whatever. You got to rip on everybody else.
Hey, Nick, I thought you were going with Zach Wilson as your breakout player, man. I thought you was obligated to go with Zach Wilson as your breakout guy.
No, listen, I am not a homer to some extent. I do hope he does well, but you're right. Like, they still have pieces around him. They're a very young team. The one positive side that I have for him, which was kind of what I mentioned with Mac Jones, is he has his whole staff coming back together. And so, like, instead of starting from scratch in the end of April as a drafted rookie, he's now, got that year under his belt and coming into this offseason, he already has the playbook. He can really dive into it. I think that will help his development. Does he have the pieces around him? That's for Joe Douglas and team to try to figure out through the draft, free agency, to try to give him some help going into this next season. Good,
solid support from inside the facility right there. I liked it. Biggest pressure's on right now. Biggest, boldest prediction from it could be anything for the 2022 NFL season. Could be a player, could be a team. We've got some examples that, just to give a little pathway here. I don't know, like Trevor Lawrence leads the NFL in passing yards. Who's got a big, bold prediction for 2022 that wants to lead this off?
My big one is the resurgence of the Raiders. I'm still not out on Derek Carr. I like Josh McDaniels as an offensive coordinator. Like I mentioned before, I think he's learned his mistakes as a head job after going back to Bill. And working as the OC for a while. So I think going into the Raiders, I think the allure of Vegas will bring in the free agents as well. And that'll get guys to come in and, they could build something special there. So I think the Raiders going deep in the playoffs is my big, bold prediction. I'll lock it in now.
All right. How about this? We talked about this guy earlier, Matthew Stafford, leading the league in touchdowns and completion percentage, and in the MVP conversation, possibly winning the MVP next year under the Sean McVay offense, man. It doesn't get any bolder than that, is all I'm saying.
Stafford for MVP.
It solidifies his Hall of Fame candidacy right there next year, this season coming up.
The Homer bold prediction of all time.
I'm telling you, I'm still riding the Rams wave, man, here on out, man. I'm telling you.
I like it. Just Carm slightly bold and not that off the board. But everyone's selling Green Bay right now. Everyone thinks Rodgers is going to leave. They're 20-1 win bet. Put your money down now. The Packers finally do it. 2022. Come on, Green Bay. Change your damn narrative. All right. NFL MVP next year. Nick.
I think it's Patrick Mahomes. I think with the way that the things have worked out this past season where, they didn't get to where they wanted to be, losing that championship game, I think it will really light a fire under him. I think the team realized what they need to do. I mean, they started so slow during the season, and he was really trying to cover for the defense. They figured that defense out, so they understand the formula going into this next season. So I think Patrick will just be able to be Patrick. So I think he's back on top, MVP.
Oh, you know what? I'll stick in the AFC as well. I think Josh Allen. I think the Bills have been on the doorsteps for the past couple of years. I think they finally get over that hump. Obviously He had a great year last year, throwing the ball, running the ball. So I think he gets over that hump, and he's in the conversation. I think he wins the MVP.
I like it. Orlando, who's in the Super Bowl next year?
Ooh, wow. You know what? Obviously, I'm gonna stick with. I'm gonna go Rams, KC. I'm still riding the Rams train. I think they have a great chance of coming back. NFC's a little weak, but I think Rams, Los Angeles Rams, and Kansas City Chiefs will be in the Super Bowl next year.
Did you just say the Rams are going to go back to back? Because I think I heard you wanting to say that, but you didn't quite let it all out.
I didn't say it all out, but yeah, I do. You asked me the two Super Bowl teams. I think those are two teams.
He's already put his future in for the winner with the Rams. And the bad part is, and I don't want to pick them after the way that the Rams aren't going to be able to get through the door because their head is so big. How much we've been talking about them. But the NFC really, I mean, with Tom Brady out, Aaron Rodgers, up in the air, don't know what he's doing. It's NFC seems wide open. I don't see a clear-cut favorite other than the Rams, and so I'll go Rams. And then, I mean, when you talk about the AFC, and we've talked about it with the crowded field, I think it's coin flip. Could be any one of four teams. I'm going to go homer loyal to the AFC East and go with the Bills. So Rams, Bills.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
So last week's picks, just to recap, as we get ready to wrap the show here. Nick was 2-1, had the Bengals +4, and had the Bengals first sack, which was +155. Nice little sprinkle right there. Both of you took the over, so that was a loser. By the way, I had the over too, and I did have Cincinnati. Thank you very much. Orlando, you shockingly took the Rams, and and your MVP, you were right there, but you came up short with the Aaron Donald. Of course, it went to Cooper Kupp, which is where we started the show. Just a reminder, go to winbet.com for all your gambling needs. The Super Bowl futures are out, and the Buffalo Bills are the favorite at +700, along with Kansas City at +700, followed by the Bengals and Rams +1200, and the Niners, Orlando, are also +1200. Broncos +15, Cowboys +18, and your deepest bet on there is the New York Jets at +20,000.
Come on, Nick, you got to go with it, baby. Go with it. Let's go. Sprinkle something on the Jets, man.
I'll sprinkle a little bit on the Jets just to, rub it in everyone's faces next year when, we're in the Super Bowl, win it, and we'll be dancing in the streets of New York.
Well, still the last time the Jets won a playoff game was when you had the jersey on, my friend. So,
true.
Yeah, it's just something to be said.
That was 11 years ago. Who's counting? No, 12 years ago now.
Gentlemen, it's been a blast. First season ever of Big Man Bets. A ton of fun to sit in this seat, so thank you for letting me guide you each week. Phenomenal performance. I hope everybody enjoyed the show most often. Even better, I guess, if you made a couple dollars as well along the way. Thanks to our partners, winbet.com, WYNNBET.com. Any final words from you guys other than, as you go into your off season? We're 203 days away from football. What the hell are you going to do for that period of time?
It's going to be tough. I guess the kids will take over now. It'll keep me away from trying to research the picks. But I do want to thank you guys for engaging every week, for everyone on the back end who made this possible, and for everybody that listened, that tuned in. It was a blast every week coming on and chatting it up for a while. So thank you guys. Appreciate everything.
Yeah, me too. I think it was an awesome year. We had a lot of fun on the show. Hopefully, the viewers and listeners had the same. Thank you, everybody from WinBet and the whole crew behind the scenes. You guys did a phenomenal job, and I really enjoyed it.
Happy off season to everybody. Hopefully, we'll get some baseball at some point here. Figure that out, y'all. You want to make some. they got baseball futures at winbet.com too for you as well. All right, for Orlando and Nick and everybody behind the scenes, thank you for watching, and we will see you next year.
Thank you.
Peace.